Our liturgy on the octave of Easter, the second Sunday of Easter, is very rich in symbolism, rich in spirituality, rich in so many things that have to do with the God in Himself. But today, the focus that we might want to put more attention to has to do with the God with us, and even more the God for us. Theologians have very interesting words to talk about the God we believe in, the nature of God ad intra, the God in Himself. This is the God of tremendous majesty, Rex tremendi majestatis, we refer to. This is the God whom we worship for His sake, the God we sing Gloria in excelsis Deo for, the God we worship for His sake and not for anybody else. This is the God in Himself. But today, the focus is not on the God in Himself, but the God with us, a God of mercy. And this is why the second Sunday of Easter is dedicated to Jesus Christ, the King of Divine Mercy. Mahirap po isalin sa Tagalog ito. Diyos, Hari, si Kristo, ang Hari ng dakilang awa. That is the closest. But it could also be ang mabathalang awa ng Diyos in and through Jesus Christ. This is a God for us, a God in action, a God whom we, rightly so, feel attached to for many reasons, human reasons, spiritual reasons, reasons that are palpable and reasons that we cannot explain why. The heart has reasons that reason itself does not know of. And today is one example of this. On context, the gospel today gives us the context for reflection for today. Two words, fear. The disciples were gathered in the upper room with doors locked for fear of the Jews. Fear is the context of today's good news. But on the other hand, there is also the context of gifts. And the risen Lord came to show Himself giving peace and told them twice, "Peace be with you." And then after giving the gift of peace, He gave some more. "Receive the Holy Spirit," He said. And then after giving the Holy Spirit, a third. He talked about the forgiveness of sins and the capacity of the church to forgive sins. And they are forgiven also in heaven. But Thomas, who received the bad press over all these centuries, came down in history as not a bad man, but not a very good man, the doubting Thomas. And I will argue this morning that that is bad press. That's fake news. It's false narrative. It may be over-focused on the one mistake of Thomas, but left out all the other good things that he was known for. Thomas was the one who said when everybody else was complaining, Why Lord, are you going back to Jerusalem? Di ba doon ka gustong patayin? Doon ka gustong dakipin? Why do you want to go back to Jerusalem? It was Thomas who said, let us go along with Him and die with Him. This is not a doubting Thomas. This is a dedicated Thomas. This is a believing Thomas. This is a loyal Thomas. And the epithet doubting Thomas is just fake and false narrative that we need to let go of today. The nature of God. We can talk about God as the King of tremendous majesty. We can talk about God ad extra, a God in action, a God for us, not a God just with us in the liturgy, but a God for us, a God who offers His body and blood under the species of bread and wine. This is a God who is mercy personified. And that is why the tradition left to us by Saint Faustina Kowalska is really hits the nail right on the head. A God in action, a God for us, not a God in himself up there in the heavens, but a God with us and for us. A God of mercy. And this is the reason, Lord, showing himself to the frightened disciples, peace be with you. And telling the disciples, receive the Spirit, and then assuring them of their duty and privilege to forgive in the name of the church that is the mystical body of the risen Christ. Thomas made that one mistake of saying, if it's a mistake, unless I see the mark of the nails in his hands and put my finger into the nail marks and put my hand into his side, I'm not buying it. Thomas was a believer, yes, but he wanted surety. The disciples were over-focused on fear and they were hiding. Thomas was over-focused on certainty, on the immediacy of the moment, the evidences that the moment can give him. And so he said, hanggat di ko nakikita yung kanyang sugat, nahihipo ang kanyang kamay at ang kanyang tagiliran, I'm not gonna believe. But then the disciples said, good news, vidimus Dominum, we have seen the Lord. And Thomas wanted to be sure. And this is the story of all of us. Ano yun? Lahat tayo nagdududa, lahat tayo nagtatanong, lahat tayo naghahanap ng patunay. There are still many Catholics who believe the fake news about, for example, they are over-focused on the investment of the Roman Catholic Church on BPI. That is true. But the church is the biggest charitable institution in the world. And the church is just as human as you and me. And therefore we need, in order to make a beautiful church. By the way, this church was built by Father Valeriano, who died a few days ago. He started it. I don't know if he was the one who finished it, but I remember as a novice, we were coming here in this unfinished church. And Father Barbero was the one building this up. We need money. I don't know how long you can say to my face, I don't need money. But when you are over-focused on a dot and forget about the cartolina that is white, then that is over-focusing. That's a cognitive distortion. You need counseling. Many of the problems of people are because they are over-focused on one little thing. And today, Thomas might have been a little over-focused on surety and certainty. But then when the disciples said, Vidimus Dominum, we have seen the Lord, and Thomas a week later was there, nagtanong ba siya, pakitingin nga nung sugat? Nagtanong ba siya, pahipo nga ng tagiliran mo? No, when he saw the Lord, Vidimus Dominum, we have seen the Lord, what is there to look for in terms of evidences? And so Thomas, despite his momentary over-focusing on certainty and the need to be sure, despite all this, Thomas was the believing Thomas. And he cried out that prayer of faith that is worthy of Jesus, the King of tremendous mercy, the King of divine mercy. And he said, my Lord and my God. Such a beautiful prayer that is as much a prayer of proclamation of one's faith as a proclamation of personal devotion sa hari ng dakilang awa. Ito ngayon ang hinihingi sa atin. At ano ba ang kalalagayan natin? We all can be blinded. We all can be over-focused. We all can be thinking all the time about that one black dot in the big white cartolina of our lives. We focus on that black dot and forget all about the whiteness, the beauty, the bigger picture, the reality about God and His overflowing mercy. A God with us, a God for us, not just a God in Himself, but a God who is willing to offer Himself every day for our sake. We all can be blinded, like Thomas. We all can be disappointed. Your priest can disappoint you. The Pope can even disappoint you. The Bishop can disappoint you. We can be disappointed with our shepherds. We are also disappointed with some, our parishioners. But that's not the point. Your mother can disappoint you. Your fathers can disappoint you. We all can set conditions like, unless I see, unless I touch, unless I'm sure, I'm not gonna believe, unless I see a perfect church, unless I see perfect clergy, unless I see holy, very holy parishioners, then I'm not going to go to church. I think we need to get the bigger picture. When the disciples proclaim today, Vidimus Dominum, we have seen the Lord, that is the bigger picture. That picture has to translate into action. And that is now a God for us, a God in action, and human beings acting in response to that act of mercy of God, my Lord and my God. That is the best prayer I'd like us to bring home for today. Repeat it when you're caught in traffic, when you're driving and you are tempted to curse the next driver ahead of you for cutting you, and that Chinese tourist who cuts the line in the Bureau of Immigration at the Naiya International Airport. Instead of cursing, you go into yourself and talk about a God in Himself, a God with us, a God for us, the King of divine mercy, and proclaim in faith and devotion, my Lord and my God.